Psychics have a tendency to take people's power away by telling them what's going to happen. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. And then people start manifesting and creating that. That's one of the things that we have to change in the psychic industry, is helping people to really be able to be empowered to make their own choices. There are things in life that are going to happen no matter what. I can see those. But there's a lot of possibilities and potential. And if you're empowered, you get to be able to decide what you create, what you manifest in your life. And a psychic can help you to figure out how to do that. They should be able to see the path to it.
Hey everyone, it's Tamara Thompson with Broadcast Your Authority, and I'm super excited for our next guest who flew in from Connecticut. Carrie Cardozo is a master psychic leader, healer, author, podcast host, and creator of Soul Theory and the #1 psychic development community known as the Psychic Psychic. She connects with energy with 100% accuracy, helping other psychics validate and expand their gifts. Carrie teaches experts and leaders to activate their abilities with integrity and precision. Her unique sessions shift energetics and empower clients to step into their true potential, making a profound impact in the world. I'm so excited for this this interview today. Thank you so much, Carrie, for coming out today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, this is awesome. It's like I don't know about you ladies on the panel here, but I've had psychic readings in the past, and I'm very much into learning more about myself and intuition and things like that. So I'm super grateful to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about your backstory, about how you kind of came into this ability? I know you and I briefly chatted off screen, but I'd love for you to share with our audience, like how you kind of stepped into that, thinking that I think you said that you thought it was normal in the beginning until you realized it wasn't as normal as the average person would think.
Absolutely. And I did. And I grew up seeing and hearing and feeling things that I soon realized nobody else did. And when I would see somebody or hear somebody, or I'd have a really good read on something, I would tell my mom, and my mom would be like, yeah, that's fine. Or there was a woman who lived in our house, a ghost, as you will, a spirit. We call them spirits, but ghost. And I would see her all the time, and I would tell my mom, there is a woman in the house. My mom would be like, it's just your imagination. And so I grew up thinking that it was my imagination, that everybody saw and read things the way that I did, until things in my life started happening that I had seen. And I'm talking big things, from cancer diagnosis, my parents divorcing, me getting pregnant at a very young age. And I had seen them when I was little, like little, 6, 7, 8 years old. And I remember I was on the phone one day with my best friend, my cousin at the time, my cousin. And I was like, I know, we were talking about things that happen in life. And she said, it's okay. Like, you're not supposed to know everything. And I was like, no, but I've seen all of this happen. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you haven't seen everything that's unfolded in your life, every big thing. And she's like, no. And I kind of let it go, but it was like sat with me. And then in 2014, I unexpectedly lost my fiance. I woke up one morning and I had found him deceased on the couch. Mm. And it was the thing that rocked my entire world. I ended up losing my job. I ended up going into this really deep inner journey of who I am and what I'm doing and what life is about. It was this need to find out like what happened when somebody died. I didn't have a strong belief before that. I wasn't super religious. I didn't grow up religious. It was kind of just like, whatever I thought was, that's what it was. And when Mike passed away, I needed to know what happened to him. And in that journey, within days, I started seeing him super clear. And I was like, I'm just going crazy. I'm literally just going crazy. And I would feel his presence in the room, and I'd have this calm feeling come over me. And all this stuff started happening, but I ended up going to see several psychics and mediums, and they just kept saying, you're the one, you're the psychic. And I would meet with them, and it would turn into, instead of them doing a reading for me, they would say, but you're supposed to do a reading for me. Can you answer my questions for me? And I was like, sure. And I soon realized that everything I knew, everything that I saw, the way I lived life was actually as a psychic. I just didn't know any different. And then 8 months after Mike passed, I ended up losing my job, and I helped build a $16 million company and run it. And I decided I was never going to lose a business, and I knew that I had to do my work in the world. So
I want to just do a round of applause. That's amazing to turn your pain into purpose. And what did you say? $16 million company?
Not now. I have a multi-million-dollar company, but I was running a $16 million company that had crumbled. It wasn't mine. I ran it. Yeah.
And so now you run your own company for the last decade. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So I own a company that everything I do is psychic, but I help people to truly tap into the purpose here on earth. And a huge part of that is uncovering who they are. So there's pillars to what I do. So we do, most of the time it starts with a discovery, like somebody has a near-death experience or something really traumatic that jolts them into this aspect and this idea of there's something more out there. The way and how I'm living my life isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. And they go on this, what I call like a deep soul journey. And that starts with healing, deep healing. And I take people, like I had a psychotherapist say to me once, she's like, if people want to just be able to navigate through life, they go to a therapist. If they want to completely change their life, they go to you. And we do, like I take people really deep within themselves to release trauma, things that have happened, to really discover themselves and to open up what I call their channels. And in that process of that healing and connecting with your soul, you really start to understand who you are. And it naturally will start opening up your psychic abilities as well. So we do healing, soul connection, psychic abilities, understanding your purpose, and then that leads to a business. And I do all of that with people.
Are there like specific practices or exercises that you recommend for developing these psychic abilities?
So yeah, there's so many things that you can do. One of the most powerful things that you can do, honestly, and I'm not a big, it's not that I teach meditation or anything like that. Because for me, it's really about silencing the mind. It's really like your brain does not help you be a psychic. So you have to shut your brain off. The psychic information comes from within here for your intuition, and your psychic stuff comes from outside of you. But your ability to understand the energy that's coming to you only happens when you can shut your brain off. So practices such as silencing the mind, coming within, focusing on your heart space is what we call your soul center. I also created a psychic development journal, and it walks you through questions to ask, like focusing within, specific questions to ask. And you just start what I call channel writing, where you can write something at the top. You can ask a question, you can write a statement, and you just start writing. You get out of your head into your heart space. And you just start writing, and you'll see that you start picking up information that you need either from your soul or from outside, what we would call spirit guides.
Carrie, I find this just fascinating. So, thank you for the opportunity to chat with you today. Love the backstory. Can we just back up a minute and define, like, what is a psychic ability? Because there's lots of terms that get used, right? Being more heart-centered, using your intuition, psychic. Can we kind of just define what it is and perhaps how it's different or how it's not different to some of these other terms?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I share with my clients a lot is that inside probably any community, but definitely inside the spiritual community, there's a lot of words that get thrown around a lot. Intuition is one of them. And in my experience, this is how I describe it. I know other people feel differently, but in my experience, intuition is the information that held within inside of you. So this is connected with your soul journey, the things that you're here to do. It can also be connected with like you and I were speaking. We're like, oh, we must be supposed to meet each other kind of thing. We would know that information deep within inside. So that's intuitive. But if you're psychic, you have the ability. Psychic is basically communicating with energetics outside of yourself. So everybody has energy. You emanate an energetic frequency. This whole, the building emanates an energetic frequency. The place that we're in, rocks, crystals, jewelry, everything does. If you can read that frequency and you can understand it, you're psychic. And you just relate that, you just keep doing that, whether it's past stuff or future stuff or current stuff, all has a vibration. So when you learn how to connect with it, whether it's simply coming off of that person or being a situation, or if it's a being like a spirit or a ghost, also has an energy. So psychic is communicating with energetics outside of yourself.
How long does it really, obviously probably for individuals, it's going to be different for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like with the people you've worked with, like how long does it really take someone to really tap into that or really fully understand it within themselves?
So there's different levels. And that's a really great question. There's multiple levels of being psychic. And I take people through a process. One of my rules of thumb, and I've taught thousands of people, I have a saying that I have 100% success activation rate in making people psychic. Everybody's psychic. And I can show anybody how to turn it on. My children are psychic, anyone who comes to me. But I take them through a very specific process. I don't teach people how to communicate with their guides to start. I teach people how to read energetics. And I can get somebody to read energetics. If you sat with me, I could have you reading energetics by the end of the day. But really,
go. I'm like, let's go. I'm taking notes.
It's not a hard process, but it's not a tricky process, but it's getting out of your head. When you're psychic, we don't use your own opinion. You don't use your own point of view. You don't use your own experiences. You can relate to them after you get the psychic information, but the psychic information comes in crystal clear, not connected to you. And a lot of people have a hard time getting out of their head. So I've taught people to be medical intuitives. There's nothing in the psychic world I can't teach or do. So, but people will come to me who have a medical background and they will keep going back to what they learned versus the information that they're getting. So they say, but that doesn't make sense. Like, here's a great example. I took a child, one of my own children, to the emergency room, to Yale New Haven Teaching Hospital. And she was in a lot of pain, had a fever. They did scans. And I said to them, she has a kidney infection. And they're like, ma'am, she does not have a kidney infection. They were convinced. I had them do everything possible. 3 days later, she ended up in the hospital in the emergency room. And the doctor's like, she has a wicked kidney infection. Like, it might not make sense. And energetics doesn't always make sense, but you have to be able to read it and understand it, where a lot of people who are trained will say that doesn't logically make sense, therefore no, but the psychic energy says yes. So people have a lot of problems really embodying their psychic gifts because of their brains or their experiences, what they know.
That's a great thing. I love that you bring that up because I think it's important when we talk about psychics and how we relate to our businesses and our lives. I'm curious because, you said you're training people to be psychics.
Yes.
Does everybody who comes to you, do they want to become a psychic reader, or is it that you're allowing them to use their psychic ability within the realms of whatever they are actually doing with their businesses and their lives?
That's such a great question. I love that. And I'm sure you've had this experience as well because of the work that you do being an oracle. One of the things that I find is people, they either love psychics, and I do call myself psychic for a reason. It triggers people and it's very much in your face. And people either love you or they hate you or they're terrified of it. And I have learned that I can work with anybody because I'm not an in-your-face type girl. Like, I'm definitely like, if you don't believe in reincarnation, I can work with you and you don't have to. So I find that everybody who comes to me is interested. They're intrigued in what I do. Now, I've also found that every single person I've ever worked with or come into contact with or had some kind of relationship with opens their psychic abilities. But to your question specifically, one of the things that I have found is that people think that just because you have psychic abilities, you have to be a psychic. You have to do readings and you have to sit with your crystal ball and I'm a psychic. And it's not like that. It's just not like that. So I teach people how to use their gifts in their industry. So with what they're doing versus being a psychic, you can be a psychic and not have to do sessions and readings. I have clients that are psychics, chefs, designers, fashion, stylists, business people, construction workers, doctors, bakers, like you name it. And they use it very specifically in their fields.
I think that's a good point. And Vanessa, I think you made a point too, which is that sometimes we think of like healers and in this realm that you and I both kind of float around in, that piece that I have come across people who, when I work with them as well, as you were just saying, they start to think that that's the only way you can be a psychic or how you can use that ability. So I love that you're sharing. It's not just about sitting in a ashram and having all the crystals and everything. It is about really using a tool that's so valid in today's world. So tell us, what do you think that the biggest win is for people to tap into this greater ability that we all have? I agree with you, by the way, that we all have in the world that we have today.
This is part of my belief is that the future is psychic. This is an aspect that we miss out on as the limitations that we have as humans, is we shut this aspect of us off. Like, you wouldn't walk around life closing your eyes or putting earbuds in, or so we don't want to shut off our psychic sense. Every single person has it. It's your ability to connect with energetics. So as a psychic, it has helped me and my clients as well. I'll share my stories in so many different areas, from being a better parent to being more successful in business to knowing what color shirt to wear this morning. I was like, what color do I wear? I will ask, or you'll get the information, or you'll have a sense. So it helps you with the food you're supposed to eat, the way you run your business, how you invest financially. It helps you with the people you meet, the relationships you're supposed to be in, when a friendship is ending, when it's not, how to support your children the best way. Like, if you give me a topic, I could tell you exactly how to use your abilities. So I say you're walking around with your eyes wide open versus walking around with one eye or both your eyes closed in life. You just see life completely differently.
So I do have another question around this is, again, the flip side is I've heard people say it. I've been concerned for myself. I have used psychics as well. It's been a while, actually. So I'm due. I'm due. And the concern, though, that we would tap into something negative.
Yeah.
Right? That's a big one. And I do remember actually taking one of my kids to see a psychic in Sedona many years ago at a time that was definitely really tricky in their life. And there was something negative there that none of us knew what it was.
Yeah.
So we're now guessing years later and kind of piecing things back, backwards. But yeah, how do you respond to that? That we might tap into something negative for ourselves or otherwise for other people?
Yeah. So there's two different aspects of that. There's negative, which is something that's trying to trick you or mess with you. But there's also things that are hard to hear, that are truths. And that's important to decipher the two. So I shared with you guys that my fiance passed away. I saw his death for weeks leading up to it. And it was one of those things, I know I couldn't have stopped it. I even woke up that morning and heard Mike's dead. And I was like, no. We oftentimes will hear and see things and experiences in our life that are uncomfortable, but they're things that we are going to navigate through or might have a possibility to. And that's really about, when I share those experiences with clients, it's not, oh my gosh, your husband's going to leave you. It's, hey, let's work on this. Here's what I see. Here's what you can do. You always have a choice. You always get to create your future. You get to have a participation in it. So when I get this information, I know, and I don't always say, oh my God, your husband's going to leave and blah, blah, blah. I might say, hey, let's talk about your relationship. Here's what I see is going to grow your relationship and make that stronger. Here's what I see you need to do. So I help people to be more empowered, to be able to stand more firm and confident in their life, and to be able to make the decisions that are most aligned with them and help them to navigate through some really challenging situations, because we do get to see that. And not all psychics can see really challenging things that are going to happen. Every psychic can tap into different energy and see things differently. It's a whole thing. Now, the other aspect is a true, what I call entities, or low vibrational beings. And these are like ghosts that haunt places or can mess with people. They can give you false information, which is exactly why I teach people how to read energetics first. You would be able to feel it. You'd be able to feel it's a misaligned or it's not a truth. And when something's not a truth, it's normally fear-based. If something is fearful, truly in your soul, not your head, that's why we want to get out of our head, but truly within inside, it's false. It means it's not true. Because even when I would get that information that Mike was going to pass, there would be this calming, settling feeling over me, like a truth. I knew he was really going to pass. It was part of his soul journey. So it wasn't truly negative. It's negative in a human perspective, but it was part of what his soul was supposed to do. So there was a calming feeling. Even I can remember sitting there with him that day. I knew he was gone. I worked in a medical office, and there was a calming feeling. And then my mind would pick up and it would be in fear-based again. So when we have those experiences with psychics, the psychic should know how to deliver hard information. And that's what I teach my psychics how to do. But also they should be able to tell the difference between something that's just fear and false, like you're being haunted or you have like a spell on you or there's a ghost in your house, that type stuff. And what is actually truth. So real information and honest and accurate information that you're
I love that distinction. Thank you. But what I'm also hearing here, though, again, is that pragmatic piece, right?
Yeah.
Around distinguishing between the two.
Yes.
But the pragmatism of, hey, there's some things that, you don't have to go down this path necessarily. And there's some things you could be doing now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really important. I was at my daughter's birthday party recently, and one of her friends came up to me and said, a psychic told me I'm on the wrong path in life and I should stop. And I was like, this is what we don't do as a psychic. These are the things we don't do. You're on the wrong path. Your life is going to fall apart. Don't do that. You're married to the wrong people. That's what we don't do. And I sat with her and I said, listen, I think what she's saying is that she's looking at the path that you're on And the way that you're approaching it is a little bit narrow, and we can open and expand that. So instead of doing what you're doing, you can also teach about it. You can speak about it. Maybe you're not supposed to actually be working with people on that direct thing, but you're supposed to be sharing and teaching. And she was like, oh my God, this feels amazing. So there's a way to deliver information, and that is super important because psychics have a tendency to take people's power away by telling them what's going to happen. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. And then people start manifesting and creating that. And that's one of the things that we have to change in the psychic industry is helping people to really be able to be empowered to make their own choices. There are things in life that are going to happen no matter what. I can see those, but there's a lot of possibilities and potential. And if you're empowered, you get to be able to decide what you create, what you manifest in your life. And a psychic can help you to figure out how to do that. They should be able to see the path to it.
And I love that you literally teach people how to trust their gut. I know as an advisor and many of the women here, that's probably the first thing we tell our clients and our business is no one's going to make better decisions than you. You want to really trust your gut. We've all heard it. We've all been told that. But then the next thing is, okay, how do I even do that? And that's literally what you teach people, which is what I love. How do you work with different individuals and how do they work with you?
So I work with people first and foremost. We do it in group settings. You can do it group settings. You can do it privately. You can do it one-on-one. I have programs, but we first teach people to really understand what's inside of them. So you have to really look at what is the repeating pattern, narrative, what are you holding in your subconscious? I do a lot of subconscious work, either shadow work or going into past life or even past and this life regressions. A lot of people will come to me and say they don't remember their childhood. I'm like, let's go in. So we dive in. Once you're aware of what's going on inside of you, it's easier. It's not very easy, but it's easier to say, oh, wait a second, this is a repeating pattern. This is a false belief that I have. Another thing that I will do with people is really teach them to connect to their body. You would be surprised at how many people are not aware of their actual body. They don't take the time to tune deep within inside and to feel what they're experiencing.
Well, especially women. I feel like I had to get pregnant before I even understood my own body.
And so much of our focus is outward. It's on the news and the media and what everyone's doing and how successful this person is versus us. So your body will actually talk to you. Every single organ in your body has a vibration and a frequency. And if something's going on, my daughter's in med school will call me and be like, can you tell me what's this? And I'm like, yeah, da, da, da. And she's like, yeah, you're right. The teacher said that too. Because everything is held within inside. So when you start tuning into your body will tell you a yes and a no. That's your gut. A lot of the times people think gut, I got to pay attention to my real gut, my solar plexus. That is where all your fear is stored. So if you're paying attention to that, you're moving in fear. But when we respond to our bodies for a no will contract. They'll close up. But it doesn't mean no in the sense you're not supposed to do it. It can also be that you're just really afraid of doing it. So you want to say, do I have fears around this? Or is it more aligned with me? Where if it's a yes, your body will really open and expand and it feels lighter. It feels that peaceful feeling. And so the more that you connect with your body, the more you understand what's going on in your brain, and the more that you're tuned into your own subconscious, and you can really dive into all the things in your subconscious, the more you'll be able to trust yourself.
Carrie, is there a difference between men's and women's psychic abilities?
That's a really great question. One of the things that you hear a lot are men are really great with their gut instinct because they don't get in their head like women do. Okay. But energetically speaking, and they are, and I agree with that. That's true. But energetically speaking, masculine energy is supposed to be more logical, critical thinking, moving forward, where feminine energy, when you're tapped into the feminine energy, the feminine energy is messages from God, is basically what it's the intuition of God. It's that message. But in all reality, a lot of men don't necessarily desire to be psychic the way that I do it. They really are great. If they're tuned in, they're just really quick with trusting their body, trusting their instincts, that natural knowing. And that's a lot of how their intuition or their psychic abilities work, where women get more philosophical about it and they want to know all the things and they want to overanalyze it. So in some regard, men can actually be better at the intuition versus women until they get out of their head. And then I see it's pretty even. It's just the process of going through. I work with men very differently than I work with women.
Can you share some of the success stories that some of your clients have had in their professional life after enhancing their abilities?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a couple. I work with a stylist who was struggling to really be able to articulate her difference and to be able to help people. Like, yes, we can all dress people to look pretty and like to go with their color. That's the thing, like color matching. I'm not a stylist, so I don't know. I could be saying
like
things
the purple.
wrong. Okay.
Purple looks good.
People tell me what to wear. But when she really was able to tap into her psychic abilities, she could read the energetics of the person and how they wanted to portray themselves in their brand and in their business and find clothes accordingly with that.
That's neat.
I've worked with business owners who've been able to grow their business financially because of the fact that they're more aligned with their soul and what their soul is supposed to be doing. I've worked with
I
clients.
feel like a lot of people probably are stuck like that because
Yes.
they're going after something that's like not really aligned with their soul purpose.
Yes.
Or
Like,
people listening might be underestimating the power of that too, and
lot of
not
that.
diving in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I found in my community, in my circle, is a lot of women are out there to make 7 figures. Let's make 7 figures, make 7 figures. And then they get to that point and they're like, but I feel unfulfilled. Worked with this client specifically, and we worked on all areas of her life. She owns a psychotherapy clinic. She's a doctor, all this amazing accomplishments, incredibly successful financially. And she was just like, I'm so unfulfilled in life. I'm just unfulfilled. And a lot of the things in her life came crashing down. And I helped her to tap into her psychic abilities and her healing abilities. And she has this beautiful coaching business now. And she still has her psychotherapy clinic that she owns, but it's run interdependent. And then she just is on the side doing more of healing, helping women tap into their power. So she's doing something completely different. So a lot of the times when people start to really tap in, they start to align with what they really came here to do. I also see the last aspect I wanted to share is I see people really understanding life differently. Like people oftentimes will look around and say, that's not fair and that's not fair. And I can't believe this terrible thing happened. When you connect with your soul, you realize that every single thing, it triggers people. Everything happens for a reason. It really does. And your job is to understand why it happened. And when people start doing that, especially in their business or their life, the success, their impact, and the fulfillment that they feel completely changes.
I'm curious, are there some specific practices, at a very pragmatic level that people can do to start to really get more in tune with their own psychic abilities?
They can. As I mentioned before, definitely like silencing the mind, coming back into themselves, spending time journaling and allowing it to just free flow. Going out in nature is a huge thing. And even if you don't like nature or you live in the city, even just like connecting with a plant. I know that sounds kind of weird, but nature has this very specific frequency, and that frequency will help to activate connection with inside of you, and it brings this peace feeling. That peace feeling is also what we feel when we're connected with our soul.
Is it more like in the sense of like relaxing, calming yourself versus not necessarily just like meditation? Because I think a lot of people say like, well, I need to learn to meditate more, or I don't do enough meditation. It's so much more than that, though. It's like really just fine tuning. When you say
Correct. Yes. It's not, I never, like I'll sit and channel, which is just, I'll ask, channeling is like asking guides questions or looking at the future or whatever. I do that every day. I do that all day long. But meditating for me is doing anything, driving, washing dishes, folding laundry, just sitting and silencing the mind. So going longer and longer periods of nothing going on in the mind. Another really important.
What's your favorite thing to do?
My favorite one is when I'm driving. I just get so much information, and it's just really clear ways of information coming in, but also it's easier to silence your mind because your mind is busy driving. My absolute favorite psychic thing to do is channeling with my guides or reading. Like I will sit down with a notebook. I have hundreds of notebooks of channeled information, and I will just write what they're saying and what I'm seeing. And that's my favorite thing to do, probably.
I love this. I could have this conversation all day. Where can people connect with you? Like, tell us a little bit more. Like, tell our audience where they can connect with you, what you have going on, what you're excited about. I know you're starting your 3rd season of the Psychic Within podcast as well. I'd love for you just to share how people can connect with you.
So yes, I have had a podcast for years, and I am starting season 3. We changed the podcast from just the Carrie Cardozo podcast to the Psychic Within. And I'm really excited for the relaunch of that. And on every social media platform, you can find me at Carrie Cardozo. The other thing that I have that's really amazing is I do have a private community called Psychic Elegance. And Psychic Elegance is a place where you can experience your soul, your truth, your psychic abilities, energetics, healing, and it's completely free. And they can find the link for that on my website.
Well, I appreciate you so much for joining us today. This has been a delightful conversation, and we'll make sure that everyone that's watching, be sure to subscribe to our channel, but also follow Carrie on everything that she's doing on that side. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.